This is David from Tumbleweed Fly and Tackle with your Bluewater Lake update for July 27th to August 3rd. It's been a while, so hey, how's it going? But I'm just going to dive right into this. I'm going to go into the weather. Rain, it's monsoon season. You know, we're getting it on occasion. It's not really been, the other day we got about a ½ inch in 20 minutes, so we haven't had prolonged rains, which is great. So don't let it sway your opinion on coming out here. Just make sure you bring some rain gear and watch for lightning. It should be in the low 80s, or low to mid 80s. Maybe a dry day, it'll hit 90 degrees or something. But the only thing you really have to worry about with wind is when a storm is approaching. It'll get pretty windy for about 30 minutes and then it'll die down. It has been a pretty windy summer this year. Muskie fishing is good. We're seeing a lot of fish. Like 2014, 2015, our average fish was right around 30, 32 inches. This year it's a little different. It's like 25 to 28 inches is the average fish, which is a really good thing. I've heard reports of fish down to 18 inches. And of course there are the 35 plus, 45 plus inch fish. But I would say it's maybe 20 or 30 to 1 as far as small to big fish go. And that's just from reports. The smaller fish are a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive than the larger fish. So the larger fish will sit there and wait for something of size that they want to eat rather than just jump on the very first thing that they can see, which is what the little fish are going to do. But seeing those small fish is a really good thing because it means in the next few years we'll have a good, healthy population of muskies as opposed to the extremely unhealthy population of muskies we had in 2014 and 15. Now, it's all dependent. I mean, it depends on their stocking schedule, it depends on the suckerfish reproduction, but chances are that we'll have a pretty good, healthy population of muskies in the next couple of years. Big muskies. The trout fishing is there. This is odd. Since it started raining, I've been hearing reports of the occasional trout, and it's not like, you're not going to catch a limit out here, but you might catch one or two. And if you do, they're going to be into that 17 to 20 inch class, which is a very large trout. In fact, the muskies help with that because they're going to pick off all the slow growing fish and the slow moving fish. So the bigger, faster, stronger fish are going to be the only ones that survive through a stocking schedule. And it's just like it is at, you know, Navajo or something when you catch a trout up there. Even Abiquiu, the bass will regulate the trout a little bit and just force the big, fast-growing fish to grow big and fast because they can't do anything about it. So the trout fishing is there. I've heard a couple reports, spinners. I've heard a couple reports on crayfish under a bobber. The small ones, the little 2-inch guys, you can find them. We have all age classes of crayfish and they're very abundant, which leads me to, well, let me talk about catfish real quick. Catfish are, again, a just random thing. Every once in a while somebody will pull like a 20-pounder or somebody will pull like an 18-inch 4-pounder. They're just hugely fat. And I really attribute it to what I'm leading into, the crayfish population. That is almost at a point where it's out of control. 2 years ago, I mentioned this issue to some people, and it was just kind of like, me, whatever. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And they can cause problems. One of the problems that they're notorious for is the eating of eggs of reproducing fish, which we don't really have a huge problem with that out here, but the suckerfish population does help feed the muskie population during the summer. And with those crayfish out there eating the eggs of the suckerfish are completely defenseless against that. In fact, they're terrible at defending themselves, which is why they're so easy prey for other fish, that they may not be able to reproduce this year, which is a really bad thing because then we're going to lose all of the food that the muskies prey on during the summertime. The other thing that crawfish love to do is eat the root systems of aquatic vegetation and increase turbidity in the process. And that is very apparent right now. Usually we'll see aquatic vegetation start growing in the end of June and the middle of July, and especially toward the end of July, like right now. And we don't have any of that. There is no aquatic vegetation at all to even speak of. Sticks, I catch sticks on occasion, but I think that's from, you know, stuff that's washed in from last year. And because of that, usually, now if this was any other year, now this could be because of the fluctuation of water levels, but if this was any other year, we would be just exploding in algae right now, which there isn't any. Which is another, like, what? Why is this happening in this series of events? And I don't know why the pH could be lower than normal, which would stop the algae from growing. There's a number of reasons why. The minnows, which are exorbitant in their population as well, probably on par with the crayfish population right now, are typically filter feeders, and they'll eat that algae too, so that could be leading to that. And if our pH is still high, then you're talking about ammonia ionization and all this other stuff that I really don't want to get into. The third thing that I'm concerned with here is the Chironomid population. There aren't any. Typically this time of year, well, starting in June, you can't go out there without wearing a buff, because you will inhale those mosquito-looking chironomids that are just clouded around you at any given point in time if you're on the shore. That's an odd one too, and that could be because of the crawdads again, it could be because of the minnows as well, but it's not a good sign. And I just, you know, this is one of those things where as anglers and as people who care about this fishery, we should be on alert, because something very bad could happen, and it could be something as dangerous as a pH swap, or as dangerous as lack of oxygen, or oxygen deprivation, or whatever you want to give it a name for it. So, and it's just something to look at in the future. I mean, it's not a really big problem right now, but steps we take right now can reduce its effect in the future. Like, for example, you love to eat crawdads, come here and eat crawdads. Catch as many as you want, because you're only going to be, you could probably fill a 5-gallon bucket in 20 minutes out there. I mean, it is that incredibly densely populated. And really, as anglers and people who care about this fishery, that's all that we can do. We can't really do much more. And I wish that we could. But, you know, as it stands right now, reducing that crayfish population is definitely, would definitely benefit the lake in the long run. So I just want to put that out there, that if you don't eat crawdads, then you should start eating them. And if you don't eat crawdads, maybe you should get everybody together and do a crawfish bowl. And because they're pretty delicious. I mean, I usually just eat the tails. I know a lot of people do the whole but yeah, come out here, catch a bunch of crayfish, go home and destroy them in a pot of boiling water. And then eat them with garlic butter. It tastes kind of like lobster. And here we don't have any upstream pollution. Really, the crayfish here are really clean. The water's pretty cold, and it stays that way. I mean, the highest temperature I've seen it is like 77 degrees. And that was back in 2015. It's a nice, cool place for crayfish, especially if you want to eat them. That about covers it for me here. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm a little bit concerned with the state of the lake right now and what that could lead to in the future. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily ultra dangerous at this moment, but the more that we do now affects the future. So can we reduce it enough, or can we make minor changes enough to reduce its overall negative impact in the future? Yes, and I believe that we should start doing that, especially right now. And I would say the start of this is removing the crawdads from the equation. So I implore you to go eat some crayfish, and you guys have a good day, and I hope I'll see you next week. Bye.